Warnings that were ignored. Hello and welcome to today's video. I'm so glad you've decided to join me today. Whether you're new to my channel or whether you already subscribed, feel free to grab a cup of your favorite drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Today we're looking at moments in which people were warned something would happen, but didn't listen, resulting in injuries and damage. Harry Markopolos notified the SEC 3 times that whatever Bernie Madoff was doing wasn't legit and should be investigated, and all 3 times he was ignored. He talks about it in his book No One Would Listen. Check it out if you want to see a real facepalm example of government incompetence. They were building a big baseball stadium in Wisconsin and it was a considerably windy day. The crane operator was tasked with lifting a large structure but refused, stating dangerous gusts. The site foreman dismissed the crane operator and called in one who would do the job with no pushback. Well, the crane tipped over with a load and workers were killed. Foreman and second operator were arrested, and if I recall correctly, the first operator won a wrongful termination lawsuit. You're referring to the Big Blue disaster. Roger Boisgeli, engineer involved with the space shuttle program, who warned his superiors for months prior to the Challenger disaster that launching in cold weather could cause the O-rings to fail. Care to guess what caused the Challenger disaster? And for his trouble, he was a pariah to future employers, punished for his integrity. My freshman year of college, all the engineering students has to take a class about the role of engineers in society. We had a unit about catastrophic failures, Challenger, Bhopal, Deepwater Horizon, Turkish Airlines 981, etc. And every single story went the exact same way. Engineers techs noticed something was wrong, tried to warn everyone. The higher ups ignore them because money. Disaster strikes. It was honestly really disheartening. We're taught to act with integrity and speak up when something is wrong, but get ignored and punished for it. This happens in other fields as well, and the higher ups who refuse to listen are oddly never the ones who get blamed. Turkish Airlines Flight 981 would never have happened if McDonnell Douglas and Convair had heeded Dan Applegate's warning about the cargo doors coming open during flight. He wrote a memo after the non-fatal American Airlines Flight 96 advising that the doors had design flaws which would cause them to show as properly latched even when they weren't. If nothing were done, he said it would lead to catastrophic failure that would likely result in the loss of the plane. However, the fixes would be expensive and no one agreed who would eat the cost, so proper upgrades were put off. Instead, they tried implementing cheaper band-aid solutions that would ultimately prove ineffective. I remember watching that instead of fixing the issue, they put a small window for the baggage handler to check if the door was latched properly upon closing. Unreal how they shifted enormous responsibility to the lowest paid worker. Thankfully, the courts told them to pound sand after the crash when they tried to blame the baggage team. I'm sorry, what? After all their bulls they tried to blame the baggage team. From memory, the baggage handler that was assigned to close the door did not speak English. The instructions next to the door controls on how to close the hatch correctly were only printed in English, and they wanted to pin the crash on him. Written in 2 languages, including English, but he didn't speak either. The instructions on the plane regarding the indicator window were printed in English and Turkish, but Algerian-born Mamoudi, who was fluent in 3 other languages, could read neither of these. Also, there was supposed to be redundancy, but that all failed too. It was normally the duty of the Turkish Airlines flight engineer or chief ground engineer to ensure that all cargo and passenger doors were securely closed before takeoff. In the case of Flight 981, however, the airline did not have a ground engineer on duty at the time of the departure, and the flight engineer for Flight 981 failed to check the door. Although French media outlets called for Mamoudi to be arrested, the crash investigators stated that it was unrealistic to expect an untrained, low-wage earning baggage handler, who could not read the warning notice, to be responsible for the safety of the aircraft.